Right, let's start off with the key challenges, and I'm just going to ask you to say one kind of highlight in terms of the key challenge identified. So I'm not going to ask you to go through everything, but just each in turn just highlight a key challenge relating to, well, let's start with design. A key challenge relating to the design in terms of the components used for SCOs. Who wants to go first? Who's got? Well, Angelos, you weren't here this morning, so you get let off the hook. So Marco, maybe you could start with a key challenge on the design.
Thanks a lot, Alistair. Good afternoon, everybody. It was a very interesting meeting so far. So congratulations to the organizers. I would start with something. My group was Group 4, discussing a bit on horizontal issues. So I would start with an overarching issue that comes out each time we discuss this, each time we discuss about simplification and SCO in particular, which is the need for an improved interinstitutional dialogue and exchange of information among all the stakeholders, all the actors involved. Some participants in my group noted that in their cases, auditors did not take the responsibility to assess ex ante the methodology the managing authorities had set up. Apparently this happens. And a more general consideration we can draw from this is that SCO are difficult to design and implement in a system where everybody feels a bit unsafe or not fully sure of what costs will be eligible, what costs will be paid at the end of the process.
Okay.
So this is really to, just finishing. This is really to, boost interinstitutional dialogue, discuss more as we are doing today, like break the chain of mistrust there is that is felt a bit throughout the process.
And I guess that's across both design and implementation of the SCOs, isn't it? In terms of that need to work together.
Design implementation is about both phases.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. I'm going to ask Carla to say a few words on the challenges with design. Did you any of your group highlight this issue, the same issue as Marco as well?
Well, in our group we talk about flat rates.
Yeah.
Specifically flat rates. The main challenge that we discussed were in relation to the double financing, to avoid double financing, which consider that is a very important aspect here. The importance of a clear categorization of indirect cost in the flat rates as well. A lack of consultation with stakeholders, which another thing that we consider important. Sometimes lack of harmonization of databases. Another aspect to ensure the appropriate percentage because of the overcompensations or other and undercompensations. Lack of understanding the difference of different SCOs, in this case the different types of flat rates. The last one, the different mindsets in terms of audit or policy, because sometimes the mindsets are different as well.
Yeah, the tensions between audit and policy. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Lukasz, highlight from, I was in your group, so...
Okay. So it would be the history in 3 steps. And first step is data, and very often lack of data or lack of structured data. So there is usually a lot of expertise related to economic, prices, scale, what is economically right in invest. And firstly, you have to gather the data to make the assessment of right scale, right units, and so on. And if we have the data, we have to match right low-hanging fruits. So, for example, maybe we have a lot of data, for example, of investment in this, and this sector, but it's not really useful, or there is not huge demand for such investment among the farmers. And it is also important to not overdo the task, to overdose the workload of administration and documentation in creation of these units, because if it would be too detailed, we are increasing the workforce needed to work with all the load of the documentation, and we have to know why we are doing. If our goal is to make more precise investment, or maybe to reduce the cost of workforce working with the documentation, or better increase the quality of data for audit. And a very important thing, we cannot lose the quality of outputs. So, for example, in terms of some kinds of training, when 1 person of training is the measure, we can lose focus on the quality of the training, or some kind of soft skills. And we also have to avoid over-subsidization. When we have too high the price, we can create the income instead of support.
Okay, thank you, Lukasz. Julian.
Yes, I was in the lump sum group. We had very similar discussions, many things already said. We also discussed about the difference between lump sum and unit costs. So lump sum is very output-based, not so much on the unit itself. That's also for the understanding important. Then also about the data, quality of data, and especially how to calculate or how to come up with a reasonable, fair, equitable, and so on amount of money for a special output. This is, I think, the biggest challenge in the design. And for lump sum, obviously, you always have this all or nothing risk. So to find good milestones within the lump sum is also a challenge in the designing.
Okay, thank you. Angelos, I'm going to bring you in. You're immersed in fisheries world. Do you recognise these challenges? Are there any other challenges that kind of jump out? We can give you a mic. You've got a mic. Good.
Thank you. So my name is Angelos. I come from FAMENET. FAMENET is like the CAP network, but in blue. So we deal with fisheries. And we've been working for quite some time with generation of tailor-made SCOs for the fisheries fund. So a lot of the things that I heard here are very familiar. We have similar issues of data and reliability. Big issue is the let's say approval, which is not a formal approval by the audit authority, but the green light. And of course the effort that it's needed in advance to create a good SCO. But I guess the rural development funds are similar. In our case, we have a beneficiaries landscape, which is 90% micro or sole operators. So this means if we don't have SCOs, we go nowhere on the long term. People are already frustrated by the complexity of administration. You know, structural funds are not, you're not any longer structural funds, but you have the same DNA. It's complicated to implement a project, to make all the payments, prove the payments, and so on. So our conclusion is if we don't manage to mainstream SCOs, we're not going anywhere. And something we have, I used to work a bit more with rural development in the past. I've lost contact. But for example, the fisheries fund, any compensation must be done with SCOs. And this was installed in the regulation. This gives a heavy boost and creates a demand for SCOs. But we see that a lot of our managing authorities are making progress. They're developing SCOs, but they're also struggling a lot. So SCOs, good idea. When implementing in the practice, there are a lot of small, little things you need to take care of. And very often it's an issue of culture, not an issue of lack of data. Data will get, but it's how to get everybody on board is for us the biggest challenge. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, that's perfect. Thank you. And are there any other? I mean, we focused a bit on design there, but in terms of implementation, do any of you want to highlight any implementation challenges that you maybe discussed that are different from what you, Julian? Do you want to go?
Yes, a little bit similar what Angelos already said. Also that there's still a lot of financial rules. They have to be checked from the paying agency anyway. It doesn't matter if it's simplified cost option or not. For example, conflict of interest, double funding, these things, and then the questions always arise, how do I check this without invoices? So these are the normal rules, let's say, and how to check them when you don't have invoices anymore. So that's really a problem for paying agencies, for the staff members, how to find good audit trails for all these other rules, let's say.
Yeah, and Lucas, in our group, we discussed the fact that people were using SCOs and they were looking for invoices.
Yes. So, for example, I had such examples on my experience of my farm that despite the SCO, still the invoices could be demanded, like when the administrative workers is too scary to put the SCO, and it's maybe on the lowest level in the hierarchy of administration. But I think maybe about the implementation, it's worth to mention that we could use a lot of digitalization and IT tools, and it could be also the platform of payment agency, or it could be the calculator based on VBA attached to the proposal for the grant. So, for example, when we are using SCOs, for example, for building, for fences, for slurry tankers, for example, we can easily make the calculation in the system that farmers is just putting, for example, that he wants to invest in, for example, 400 cubic meters of new investment, for example. The system calculates the overall cost of investment, the level of the support, for example, show all the data, all the factors, or even it could be matched with the systems, with the Ajax system related to the animal transparency and animal data, like just clicking into the system, and system could reach the right amount of support in, for example, square meter of slurry tanker based on data related to animal tracking system, for example.
Well, as we mentioned here, I think that the most important thing is the culture. The change of the mentality of the people who is involved. We discussed in our group, the same things that we talked already, like involvement of the different authorities, assessment, the assessing risk that the authorities can assume, the acceptance of SCOs of the different stakeholders. But the main thing for me is that we mentioned is the mentality, and also that we don't know what we can expect from the auditors. For example, this is the one of the worst things. For example, in my region, we apply all simplified cost options in the last programming period, and the former programming period and the present programming period. And we spend a lot of time calculating the standard scale of unit cost for physical assessed, investment physical assessed. And we receive the auditors from the European Court of Auditors. We were discussing about the methodology, and we saw what happened in that moment. Because for us, the methodology was okay, but then discuss about how we, for example, ask for X suppliers and not more, because for them maybe they are not representative, the number of suppliers, and for us was okay. So sometimes in this case, you have to demonstrate very well, for example, why you ask for 100 suppliers instead of 500 if in the market there are 600, So you have to demonstrate that your methodology is representative and fair, equitable, and verifiable, No, that's all.
My mic's dead, so...
No, sorry.
We got it. We're good. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, panel. Right, so I think, Marco, you're nodding, and then then Julian, you come in.
Another keyword that we discussed a bit is flexibility, which is above all during implementation. What happens if a project financed with lump sums, for example, is partially unsuccessful due to reasons that are not attributable to the beneficiary, or what happens, for example, is if the project needs to be amended at some point. How is this manageable within a system of SCOs. We found that a smart approach could be to combine SCOs using different SCOs for different types of cost based on the fact that they are can be easier to use for some costs rather than for others, or for some types of project rather than for others. So that could be combination of SCOs is probably something underused at the moment, but could be improved.
Yeah, I just wanted to stress what Anna also said. Yes, from a managing authority perspective, simplified cost options, they pose quite a huge risk because there is no ex-ante improvement of the methodology. And then obviously if then the auditors come and they find some errors or findings, it's obviously a systematical error because in all the projects you use the same methodology. So this is, I think, one of the main reasons why we are all a little bit in fear to use them. We are still on the challenges. So one thing, how we do it in Austria, we always try to involve our national auditors. That's the certification body, are they called now? So, and also in my experience, like 5 years ago when it was new, they were still very happy to do that, but now they get a little bit more reluctant, which is very unfortunate, because they also feel the pressure, because now with this single audit approach and so on, so they also don't want to give the stamp on it from their side. So this is really a little bit a cycle where I think we have to break if we want to have more simplified cost options.
So how do we break that cycle? Any reflections? How do you break that cycle? From Angelos, from a fisheries perspective, has that cycle been broken?
All right, how to break the cycle? You have to start with small steps. This is something we all understand. And now I'm not familiar now how is the regulation situation for the rural development, but we have the so-called off-the-shelf. You know, you add overheads on staff costs, whatever. You start there, and then you go step by step. One thing is first for the auditors, for the audit authorities to understand how simplified cost options function. So if you have the backup of the regulation, then it works quite well. Something else we applied, smart guys among us, not me, in the fisheries programs, we have SCOs which are defined at the level between the Commission and the member state. And they're part of the program. I don't know if there's a similar situation now in rural development. So in the future, good one. So now you can benefit from now knowledge. The smart guys among us copied exactly the same methodology that they apply between member state and commission to the relation between managing authority and beneficiary. Or if you want, they twisted what they already wanted for the beneficiaries to fit in the program. The auditors are much more inclined to accept a methodology that it's already in an approved program. I'm not sure if this applies to rural development, but it was a smart way to create certain legal certainty there where there was none foreseen by the framework. And then you start moving on. You just try to implement some unit costs. Unit costs are relatively easy to understand. And for me, you know, the highest level of SCO is the draft budget. So, but we are far away from that. But if we reach that at some point in the future, we'll be very glad. But the point is, you break the cycle by starting with simple steps. Take the off-the-shelf, get them used to it. Move to unit cost, get them used to it. And you move along as you go by.
Okay, it's working. Well, I'm in the same line, and I agree that the good points or the best is started with the simplest one. Maybe the flat rates for example, a leader for operational groups, or the simplest one. And after that, to start with what continues with the more complicated simplified cost options. And the other aspect that I mentioned before is that maybe authorities should bet on the simplified cost options, because if the authorities are not conscious, or they are not the decision to implement that, is more complicated to introduce the culture of implement all of them.
Or maybe also to use existing documentation, like for example in Poland in no personal groups, the maximum cost of salaries is related to the legislation about minimal wage on university for the professors. So it's the maximum salary is 150%. So we are not create new rules. We are basing on existing rules, yes? And it's the same with the travel costs when it's related to the other documentation regulating what kind of refundation per transport could be used for individual workers in, for example, corporate or SME sector.
Yeah, I think that's really a good idea. We also do that. It's like there's a lot, for example, in the tax regulations where you have this kilometer money for travel, or also some certain maximum amount for hourly rates and stuff like that. You can find a lot in other national or EU regulations, or in Horizon programs. There is also a lot in it.
And I think they're still trying to figure out how to put the batteries in the mics, but we'll keep going. The Angelos, I think you mentioned the need to do things incrementally, so don't try to do everything at once. And Carla, you highlighted this as well. I wonder, how do you go about doing that? Is it so? For example, in the fisheries arena, have you had to collaborate very closely with a host of organisations and individuals to do that, to work out how you might do that incrementally? What's the framework for that? Is there a framework?
Now you mean us as FAMENET, right?
Or as fisheries generally?
Yeah, well, let's perhaps divide. Us being a support unit of DG Mare, we have certain ways which are quite similar to what the similar sister bodies do in rural development. We basically offer some documents that can be used as reference, and we do capacity building with them. Now, when they're done, we might offer also specific, let's say, feedback to things they try to establish. So, for example, with the war in Ukraine, we had a whole boom of SCOs, especially for compensations that for fishers like in the Black Sea that could not go for fish because the sea is mined, so they get a certain compensation. This is based on a unit cost or flat rate, if you like, approach. So we had a lot of exchanges with the member state and the colleagues in the commission, the respective geographic officer, on is this a sound methodology? Does it make sense? Does it really? But this is where we stop. So we cannot go to the audit authority. Some of the member states, some of the authorities transfer to us what the audit authority might have as objections or see things differently, but this is where our power stops. We cannot go further than that. I think it's a matter, it's a tedious job, but it's a matter of repetition and persistence. You need to go all the time to the audit authorities with new ideas, exactly why your data are good. It's a process, and it takes quite a long time, but you get there. We see so now, for example, they understand what is the logic of an SCO. We see that they accept the simpler ones. The off-the-shelf they need to accept anyway because they're based on an EU regulation. And this is how you move. So it's a bit of everything. No, we will do the capacity building. We'll provide. Now we are preparing a working paper on SCOs where we made a survey among all member states and we have a bit of a summary there. Also a classification based on effort and impact, because these are the two things that we said are important. How much effort do you need to develop that? Because you need to develop that everything in advance. And what is the impact on the budget of the program? Do you cover 5%? Perhaps it's not worth doing. Do you cover 30% of your budget? Perhaps it's a good investment. So this is the one side. The other is the capacity development on workshops, on online channels, and so on and so forth. And then is this ad hoc support, consultation, feedback when they come and ask. Sometimes we're lucky and audit authorities come also to these capacity building workshops, and then we confront each other directly. This is always very fruitful. In other cases, we have absolutely no idea what's going on at the national level. We don't see that.
One thing that I was thinking was you were talking is one important aspect. I think is the capacity, like you mentioned, because, for example, to have just a few people or a small team, working on simplified cost options all the time, in different programming periods, I think is something important. Is what happened to us. For example, we have a group, a team who has been working in simplified cost options for a long time. Some simplified cost options like flat rates or some lump sums maybe are not so complicated, but the rules are changed, all the time. So sometimes you have to take into account that. But other simplified cost options, like, for example, standard scales of unit costs for physical investment on physical assets, you have to spend a long time, calculating or doing the method. So you need the people, or you need the capacity to spend time doing that, and to make sure that the method is okay to implement it.
I would like to add with this capacity and also the cultural mind shift also for paying agency people who then have to do the checks. It's relatively easy to have an invoice to check, okay, this item belongs to this project, check. Then you check the invoice, the characteristics, the starting dates, etc. Check, it's fine. It's done. Or to check timesheets where it's connected to the project or not. But it's more. I think it's a little bit more complicated than to have certain outputs. I don't know. You have a video or whatever the output was in a lump sum situation, and to check. Okay, is this exactly this output how it was predefined before? So this is also. It needs a lot of training, I think, in the teams who are doing then the checks. Yes.
Again, in terms of capacity and experience in the preparation and approach to SCO, there were a couple of examples in my group from Italy and Germany where there are multiple professional profiles that come together in the definition of SCO. For example, in Italy, the National CAP network is very active as it was presented this morning, is very active in the development of SCO, and they have a team of experts with different backgrounds, and this is very helpful in order to tackle all different aspects of SEO. And also in Germany, there are Chamber of Commerce and other public and private bodies involved in the process.
Well, just one thing that I think that you have to, as I said, maybe you need a team or people who are involved, and you spend a lot of time maybe sometimes at the beginning, but finally you save, time. So that's the idea.
And we've got 2 mics now. Aren't we lucky? Yay, good one, Marco. Right, so so what I'm getting from this is there's a host of challenges, and from all the groups this morning, my sense is that the challenges are very similar in terms of data, stakeholder, capacity, audits, tensions between audit and policy, and the various outputs, quality, quantity, etc. And you've highlighted some of the ways in which these can be resolved. And we've got some insights from Angelos from the fisheries perspective. So what would be the big kind of, in a perfect world, what would be the kind of the big solution here? What's the thing that would make SCOs take off? Don't worry about anything you've done or not done in the past or what you know. Just reflecting on the discussions this morning. We've just had a discussion just now. What's the really big thing that's going to change the dynamics around the adoption of SCOs? So who wants to go first? Okay, Lucas.
I have some ideas from farmers' perspective. So I think it was not mentioned today that such solutions and tools in the CAP are less stressful for the farmers, I can say. So in my experience in working with the farmers are calculating the worthiness of joining some programs about the stress. Okay, it's worth investment, but I don't want to have the stress related to the controls, or I would make the wrong documentation. I would do everything great on the physical level, yes, but I'm too stressed about making wrong documentation on the paper, and I don't want to join the program. And it's very, very often that I was visiting, for example, great old greenhouses about producing the flower yesterday, and we are talking about digitalization because their children are IT consultants. And he said, I was never taking the subsidies or investment because it was too stressful for me. And if it's easy that, okay, you have this and this square meters, it would be accepted. Yes, and you would receive even 20% instead of 50%. And the great example is about the simplification, but it's about the turnover loans, liquidity loans in Poland after the conflict on Ukraine. So farmers, we have high inflation, like it's 7% of interest rates in Poland, and the farmers could receive 100,000 euro for 5 years with the reduced interest rates. So we can say that they have 25% of subsidy, yes, for the capital, but they are perceiving it like almost 100% due to lack of stress. I have only to repay the capital, and I have no control on the farm. I have control made by the bank. Bank is responsible for supervising with the authorities about the documentation, and farmers are feeling free, more free to invest in the right way because they feel, okay, bank checked the documentation, bank has the problem with the authorities or supervisor, and I'm more willing to take to increase the uptake of the programs because it's less stressful for me.
So just to kind of be clear on this, so in an ideal world, your ideal world as a farmer, an SCO program that was completely stress-free, that enabled me to do what I needed to do with my business would be the perfect thing?
That when farmer has 100% that they and then do new investment or new activity on the farm level because they are great in this and not great in the documentation, they would be much more happy and less stressed about it in the ideal world. That, okay, I have to do this, I will do my best to do it, and I have to be free of documentation if it's possible.
Wow, documentation free. That is an ideal world. Anybody else want to come in? Who's got a good solution that they want to highlight? And it doesn't need to be real. Okay. Angelos.
I might add here. No? No? Test. No?
No?
You? Yes?
Yes. Of course.
Closer. Okay. I mean, two things. One thing is there are certain things you can do to boost the usage and the deployment and the rollout of SCOs. One thing is regulation. Is there somewhere regulation necessary to do it? So in our case, we have compensations work only with SCOs, so you need to do it. The other thing is that we see also is what kind of library of methodologies already exists. And this is what we try to do is with our member states, with our managing authorities to exchange, to say, you know, the Hungarians develop something, it might fit to you, have a look, have a talk. This works quite well. So these are the two things that we can help to boost the implementation, the rollout of SCOs. The other thing is not a generic thing, a general thing that can be applicable, but you have to be very inventive. And I will give you a short example. From a country with a very big fishery fleet and a lot of islands, I'm very familiar with this country. You might be able to guess which is it. So, you know, fish, in contrast to potatoes, move around. So in the fields, they stay where they are, but fish move around. So the vessels, the ships also, the boats move around. And you need to register where they move around, because there are some areas which are no, they should not be there. So they have to install certain devices on the vessel. And these they can get financed. So this country said, okay, you know, the range of tools is quite well known. The prices we know, so why don't we make an SCO? You just buy the thing and you get compensated with its amount. But the question is the proof. How do I know this is new? So I need to see an invoice at the end of the day. So the solution they applied is very pragmatic. They could inspect the invoice, but the price was blacked out. So I can only see the serial number, the proof that it was new. I could compare the serial number of the device on the vessel. And I knew it was this device sending information because I see the ID of the device, so it's quite easy to testify. And that was the solution. And my point is, you have to be inventive. You have, you know, to say, okay, we need your invoice, but we don't need to see the number there. We don't see the amount you paid, but we need to see the serial number. So regulation, methodology libraries, people can compare and adapt and further develop, and inventiveness. Be smart and you know, get the obstacles out of the way somehow.
Yes, you asked about ideal world or this. So maybe, as I said in the beginning, these other financial rules, maybe it would make sense to have some exemption for simplified cost option, of course, and with some certain threshold. But maybe this, I think, would really be a way to come forward, because then this fear would be gone a little bit. And that's really, I believe this fear in the paying agency, in the managing authorities, that's what is blocking to introduce it. And the second point, maybe we can also learn a lot from fishery and cohesion policy. Today in the morning, they have really good working networks where they have peer-to-peer. For example, if I have a calculation method developed, I could go to a meeting and say to another member state, please check it, give me a critical feedback about it. I would be also more secure if it's a good method or not. So this kind of networking would, I guess, also help.
Thank you. Carla, please.
Sorry, can you?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
No. In an ideal world, and I think that the objective is to reduce the administrative burden, especially for the coming programming period, post-2027. So I think that they would maybe the best idea is to try to use all simplified cost options that we can, with always saving the rules, but thanks to this kind of workshops, for example, we know that some people apply different kind of simplified cost options successfully, and they have different methods already done. So I think that people can share that information and use it and apply it in their countries as well.
Great, thank you, Marco.
Does it work?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, totally in line with what has just been said, and this is also links to my starting point at the very beginning. So I think there is the need for you know, it is, you know, on SCOs there is a very good potential, because all actors are aligned that they could be a good simplification option. But they are not. Let's say they don't agree at the moment. They don't fully agree on how this should be implemented in practice. So I think there is a strong need for more discussion on this, for better communication, exchange of experiences and good practices between member states, more clarity for beneficiaries, and a clearer approach to audit in general at all levels, in a way that rules are clear for all actors. What is needed to get the payment is clear for all actors, and will not be a certainty that it will not be contested in a later stage of the process. That's probably something that at least beneficiaries need, and of course we are aware that we have to, safeguard the public money that we are using. But I think it's more than very difficult technical issues. There is probably easier communication problem here that we could all tackle.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we're stress-free, we're inventive, we're transparent, and we're doing everything collectively with fantastic communication between us all. So I think these are really good ideal solutions, and I think I hope you've given the panelists have given you food for thought for the sessions that are going to come this afternoon, where we're looking at future prospects for SCOs and the CAP. So without further ado, can I thank the panel for participating, and can you thank the panel please for everything they've done. Thank you, everyone. So I'll let you go back to the floor.